At the tail end of August, it will mark 5 years that I've been doing YouTube, and now I think this is the third summer where we're talking a lot more entertainment-related stuff, and once again, we stand at the precipice of a disaster in the making, a bombing that is on the horizon, and back in 2023, it was very easy to assess the landscape. It's like, bros, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, yeah, that's going to be a travesty, and lo and behold, that's exactly what it was, and honestly, I think it ended up performing even worse than people were speculating prior to its release. But moving ahead to 2024, like what was there in the theaters? Okay, Deadpool and Wolverine overperformed, but everything else, it was a desolate wasteland of content. And here we are once again into 2025, where we have the three-headed beast wrapping everything up with Fantastic Four, which we will be talking about a little bit later today, because oh boy, that promotional train, it just does not stop. Like, I don't know which one is careening over the cliff faster, James Gunn putting himself first and foremost with Superman, or Pedro Pascal's cringy nonsense. It's really neck and neck at this point in time, but I digress. We'll get to that. And then of course Superman, which is, if we're taking a look at a lot of the metrics that are out there, it looks like the first superhero could end up being the best performer of the lot. But first and foremost, man, the one that everybody had earmarked as being, it's probably going to be a bad movie. And now that we have the reviews out there, and brother, is pretty terrible, at least for what we're seeing right now. Because IGN of all sources has their early review out, and they're not giving it, their memeable 7. They're giving it a 5. That's, oh boy. They also gave Ironheart a 5. And if we're going, we're just trying to assess things on equal footing, if Jurassic World Rebirth is as bad as Ironheart, whoo, lordy, that's really not going to be good. But yeah, when you get to individualistic reviews, Recycled Tripe comes to mind. Okay, back in the mid-90s, when the only Jurassic Park movie came out with the tagline "Life Finds a Way," Jurassic World Rebirth really does run it back, hitting a bunch of the different plot points from the original and remixing that iconic phrase and bringing it to the world as, in fact, shite finds a way. Because the Cosmic Book News, they seen this, what was it, last week or something like that? And now that they have their review out here, we'll take a look at a little bit of it. But Jurassic World Rebirth is mid at best. It's a dumb shit happening over and over. It to push the plot forward. It's so bad that the people behind it are either totally incompetent, or more likely they have zero respect for the audience, and think we're all idiots. I would imagine so. Also a big anti-pharma movie with subtle references to environmentalism and such, which, yeah, okay. Well, they are talking about, genetically splicing dinosaurs, because it's weird, right? Because all the marketing that we've seen with Fantastic Four and for Superman, Jurassic World, I haven't really seen all that much. Like, there were a couple of months ago, Gareth Edwards, the director for this, like, he came out and he said that, I was really looking to kind of take a step away from Hollywood, not really doing any directing, but they showed me the script for this and I was all in. And it's like, well, we can go ahead and assess you by the quality of your movies to go that's probably not exactly the ringing endorsement that you hope it would be, but at least he was saying something nice about the production. That was totally fine. But somebody else who has been popping up and saying some really wonky shit in regards to this movie, not really talking so much about the movie, but everything else around it, kind of dragging it down, very much being a James Gunn with tits. But we'll talk about her comments and most recent ones, and it's probably leading to diminishing returns as opposed to really shaming people to the theaters. Let's go back to this 30,000 foot review right out the gate. The movie starts doing dumb shit and it doesn't stop. The characters fall flat across the board, including both Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali. The plot is extremely predictable and drags at times. Honestly, this might be the first movie I've seen where a bunch of people keep getting up and use the bathroom like they didn't care what they missed. Wow, that's wild, man. Because yeah, again, some of that early marketing, it's like people are excited for this because for whatever reason the Jurassic franchise is about the only one that capitalizes on the otherwise cool nature of dinosaurs. Like, I don't know why anybody else just hasn't come along and put a story and plot and some interesting characters behind what is otherwise the most interesting things to have ever walked the face of this earth. Like, I don't know how anybody just hasn't come across that idea. Like, they have the trademark, do they have the patent? Is this like the Nemesis system that Warner Brothers and Monolith Studios locked away? Like, is that the problem? Because I don't get it, man. But yeah, people want to see dinosaurs. Hence why all of those other three incredibly awful Jurassic World movies have made over $1 billion, because people want to see dinosaurs. But apparently, because that was something else that we talked about the last time we talked about this movie was, no, people are done wanting to see dinosaurs. They want to see genetically modified dinosaurs. That's why we have the disastrous Rex, which is inspired by the Rancor from Star Wars. Okay, cool. You're taking talking points from an otherwise dead franchise to inject into your franchise that's on life support. Good decision making that you have right there. And yeah, to hear that, cool, you bring in all of these big name actors, right? Or at least what we're told are big name actors, and you do nothing with their character work. That's something else that has been festooned across Hollywood for quite a while. You have some names, you still have some old legacy movie stars that are out there, but they just play themselves. Or even if you have recognizable names and faces like Jack Black and Jason Momoa, they play themselves. Character work, I would say, I don't know, man, a lot of those plots have been very, very, very pants on head stupid, but I think character work is probably the worst that it's been, and in an otherwise atrocious time in Hollywood, I think, yeah, the overall character work is the bottom of the barrel skill that has just been sacrificed at the altar of creativity in recent years. Dialogue is right there, and plots have been very stupid, but realistically, we're trying to suss out, like, what is the most offensive one or two here. But anyways, the big reveal of the final villain completely misfires, like Gareth Edwards' Godzilla. The mutant dinosaur gets barely any screen time. Okay, worse, it looks awful. The weird mashup of a dinosaur and a xenomorph. Yeah, because that's also the other inspiration that it makes. Because instead of having, like, really cool dinosaurs, you know, running back a proper brachiosaur, T-Rexes are still incredibly imposing and threatening, and one of the best scenes, full stop, from the original Jurassic Park, the original and only Jurassic Park, is the tense kitchen scene with the velociraptors. You can't do anything fun with that. No, you just need to have big retard Rex pop his dorky ass head around, and you fucking think that that's gonna float the film. But no, we got not Blade, and we got Regret Widow. You should come watch our movie. Yeah, because apparently that's working, because in regards to some very questionable dinosaur designs leading the marketing, you also have Scarlett Johansson going around and just, fucking blabbing and flapping her gums. If she would have told me that 10, 15 years ago, that might have been a selling feature, but now she's 40. Now she's cranked out a couple of kids, and now she is just running through that same old cycle that all of these old pieces of eye candy who never developed a jump shot. These are the chicks who just bust into the league, right? Just use a sports analogy here for a second. But these are the chicks that were just absolutely running shop all over the college scene, okay? They were driving to the rim. Nobody could stop them. It was just dunk after dunk after dunk after dunk. And for the first couple of years in the league, they were unstoppable. But eventually, you sprain your knee. Your hip starts hurting a little bit, and you have to either develop a jump shot or get the fuck out the way. And Scarlett Johansson, I've talked about it before. I don't like to hand out perfect 10s, especially when we're talking bitches out there, just putting them on a scale or some shit like that. But I reserve that designation for two people all time. Scarlett Johansson in the early 2000s, that was just like fucking atrociously attractive, and Jennifer Connelly in the early 90s, okay? But it's such a perfect distinction now how you can have two different types of 10s, okay? How Jennifer Connelly, yeah, she took the eyeballs that she was getting for very, very, very justifiable reasons and spun it into a very decorated Hollywood career where, she continued to become a more established actress and eventually netted herself an Oscar. Meanwhile, Scarlett Johansson, yeah, banger piece of eye candy, and now is just regretting everything because, oh boy, those Oscar roles, those Oscar bait roles, they're going to those younger chicks who are willing to do some different shit. So hopefully Sydney Sweeney's taking note of this stuff right now, because she's very much poised and very much positioned to be in that position that ScarJo had in the early to late 2000s. Hopefully, Sydney Sweeney, there we go, can figure the fuck out how to act, because everybody will meme along with you right now with Madam Web, but if you continue to follow that up with similar type performances throughout your career, you're going to be running through and making these headlines complaining about the male gaze. Bruh, stop it. Scarlett Johansson says that she was offered a lot of roles revolving around desirability and the male gaze as a young actress. Yeah, that's how shit works. Nobody wants to see ugly bitches. Nobody wants to see out-of-shape dudes in action films. Nobody wants to see ugly fucking land whales in a two-piece. If they want to go do that, they'll go down to the fucking public pool. Scarlett Johansson is opening up about how roles have changed for women since she joined Hollywood, and arguably for the worse. In a recent interview with the Times of London, Johansson said that when she first entered the industry, the roles she was offered usually centered around desirability. interesting, right? Because I'm not entirely sure if this started her career, but when she was opposite Bill Murray in Lost in Translation, like that was the first time that I took note of her. It could be her most notable role, but wasn't she like a child actor? And it's like maybe you're telling a little bit more about the industry than you're intending to, but she might have had some like, did teenage roles, but I really don't remember that. But wasn't she 20, or like she was very much a newly minted actress at the time that Lost in Translation came around. And that's Paul W. Anderson, weird ass shit. But was that the desirability stuff that you're talking about? That Oscar bait shit that never really panned out? Oh, okay. However, she thinks the Hollywood of today is ushering in a different time for young women. And just at the time when the industry is fucking dying. The messaging is different. There are many more role models. Women are visible in powerful positions and opportunities. I had to play women who don't have to just be one thing or another have increased. When I was younger, a lot of the roles I was offered or I went for had their ambitions or character arcs revolving around their own desirability or the male gaze or a male-centered story. That is less frequent, though. Something has shifted. That's funny, right? Because now you're getting the lead in Jurassic World, and interesting. Because you got box office theory pulled up right here, and well, let's take a look because we have the most recent, all of July going all the way through, I think, the beginning of August, but we got some early forecasts on a bunch of stuff, and it's interesting, right, because F1 just came out, and I think we talked about that yesterday, right, and well, actually, the low-end projection ended up being $2 million higher than what it ultimately ended up being, because it came in with $57 million on its opening weekend, and yeah, it's not great. For as much as Apple and the industry wants to tout that as a success, it was a $250 million budget. It's probably not going to make back its money, even though I hear that it's a pretty good movie. Then you also had Mithrigan 2, projected 21 million and end up doing 10. Apparently people don't even want to check out female dolls doing a weak ripoff of Terminator 2, which is just fucking wild to think about. But you take a look at that Jurassic World Rebirth, low-end 3-day, $67 million. Domestic low-end total throughout its entire run, $239 million. Ooh, there's a reason why ScarJo wants to throw the industry under the bus, because as it's shaken out right now, look at that, 230, even if you go $281 million, that's what, half of what Superman's being projected at, and it's even slotting in like $100 million lower than Fantastic Four. Everybody was thinking, and perhaps the international budget is just going to go ahead and bolster and carry it to the finish line, which has happened before with the Jurassic World movies, but ScarJo finding out really quick that if you build your entire career on being a piece of ass and never ever branching out from there, fucking opportunities and roles are going to be drying up awfully quick, because this whole experiment with the girl boss, we seen it flare out last year with Furiosa, and then we seen it just a month ago with Ballerina. Now it's coming to Jurassic World, and you're going to end up breaking that streak of exceptionally awful movies making over $1 billion. Now you're just going to have an exceptionally awful movie that ends up ending your career. Sucks to suck, I guess. Probably shouldn't have sued Disney, because he could have got an easy payday by coming back as Black Widow. But now we got Temu ScarJo with fucking Florence Pugh. And you, the only way that you're going to be in Avengers Doomsday is if you buy a ticket. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.